Hey, I'm Chris Ralph, the professional prospector, and it's been a long time since I've actually done a video. Unlike last year when I had a terrible automobile accident, this year I've just been goofing around doing other stuff. I had some business to take care of and other things. I was sick a little bit of that time, but nothing to explain why I haven't been making much videos. So sorry about that, but I've got great plans for 2022, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Are my plans for this coming year. I've got some really cool stuff I want to do with you guys, and I think you'll really like it. I think you'll really enjoy the videos. So let me get started talking about some of the things that I'm going to work on. Now, the first video, I've got dry wash to gold button. I literally filmed this in mid-December before Christmas. And I went out and did some dry washing here in Nevada, and it was great. And I talked about how I did that, and I'm showing you some stuff. And I wanted to go all the way to a gold button. Well, after I filmed that video a few days later, we got just storm after storm after storm. And in order to film the part about gold buttons, I have to go out and shoot from the outside of my work shed. And it was so muddy over there. It's like, and snow and everything else. I just thought, no, we'll wait a little while. Well, I waited too long, but anyway, I'm going to get it done now, and I'm going to show you that video. That's what's going to come up next week. Now, this coming year, I'm going to do a lot more detecting and get out there with you guys. I'm going to try and do some stuff with my GoPro and different things. I've got some ideas, and we're going to be out there nugget detecting. I'm hoping to be out nugget detecting in just a few weeks, in just a couple weeks in mid-February. So that should be really great. So I'm going to show you guys a lot more nugget detecting this year. I'm going to do a video on how to assay for free gold. I've got a sample of some gold ore that I picked up. It's a specific sample, and I'm going to go through the whole process of how you can assay a sample of rock for free gold. I get a lot of questions from people like, hey, I've got this rock and it's kind of cool, and I think it may be ore, and how can I tell if there's gold in it? Well, you know, unless there's big chunks of gold hanging out of it that you can see, in which case you don't need me to tell you that you got a lot of gold. If there's not real obvious gold, what you need to do is kind of crush that stuff up, and I'm going to go through the whole process of taking a good size sample, because if you're going to do this yourself, you need a good size sample. I'll go through all the details of it and explain to you how that works and how you can, at home, do an assay for yourself and come up with a number like, oh, my rock has, 2 ounces of gold per ton, or some other thing. And then we'll talk a little bit too about what those numbers mean. I'm going to talk about the secrets of turning electronics into gold. Let me show you something. Almost all electronic items, from laptops to desktops to even things like radios and other stuff that's electronic, right, that runs on electronics, has gold in it. And now I wish I could tell you that those things have like gobs and gobs and gobs and gold, but no, they don't. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but there are small amounts of gold in virtually everything that's electronic. In fact, something like 20% of all newly mined gold goes into making electronic chips and other things like that that have gold in them. And you can recover the gold out of it. This is one thing that guys that live in places where there just really isn't much gold, or there's just really not access to property to get out and prospect, there's a lot of guys in those areas that collect old electronics and turn them into gold. We're going to do the process, and what I'm going to do that's different, because there's a number of guys that do this kind of things, I'm going to explain to you how it works. A lot of guys just, they'll say, oh, well, I put these chips in here and I mix this acid and that acid, or I put these pins or these fingers or whatever and I mix these acids and blah, 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 and here I got some gold out of it. Well, in fact, there's even a lot of them that are done by non-English speaking guys that, and they're not in their own tongue. They're actually just, they have some music in the background, and maybe they'll have a little overlay, a couple of words printed on there. if you're going to do this for yourself, you need to know how to do it. And so I'm going to go ahead and explain all the details of how I do it. I've done this before. I've got about a half a pound of pins collected up. I've got a little over a pound of IC chips, and I've got some fingers too, some gold fingers. We're going to talk about where gold is in electronics, printers, scanners, you know, all kinds of stuff, telephones, cell phones. I've scrapped out a bunch of cell phones too. We're going to talk about that and how it works. Now, the amounts that I have still are not enough. That's one of the things that I've been working on. Even though I haven't done a video, I've been collecting chips and, you know, getting all this stuff together. We're going to talk about how to acquire that sort of thing, what's good, what's not good. So I'm going to go into a lot of detail. It'll be actually a several part series about how this works, and I'll explain the whole thing to you. And once I've finished, if you watch all those videos, you'll know a lot about how to turn electronics into gold. Now I'm going to do a special video about the secrets of prospecting like a pro. How to be successful when you go out and find gold. I think that's going to be a popular one that a lot of people are interested in. I'm going to talk about reasons why gold is so valuable. You know, it's currently, as I'm talking this, it's a little over $1,800 an ounce. It's been as high as $2,000 an ounce US. And of course, that's really valuable. It doesn't take very much to be worth something significant. And so we're going to talk about why gold is so valuable. We're going to talk about gold on bedrock. I see a lot of guys, you know, gold is always on bedrock. Well, most of the time it is, or a lot of times it is, but not always. There's plenty of situations where the gold isn't on the bedrock, or isn't significantly more on bedrock than it is just in the dirt in general. And we're going to talk about gold and its relationship with bedrock, so you can be a better prospector. When you understand when gold is on bedrock and when it isn't, you'll know where to dig and where not to dig. And then also I'm going to talk about gold from supernova explosions and volcanoes. I get questions from guys about this. Doesn't all gold come from supernova explosions? And some of them think like a nugget flew out of a supernova explosion and it landed on Earth, and that's where nuggets come from. That's not really the case. It's a lot more complex than that. So we're going to talk about the geology of gold with respect to supernovas and volcanoes and that sort of thing. I think it'll also make you a better prospector. And I have a few other things I want to talk about, so let me erase the board and rewrite stuff up, and we'll talk about the rest of the list of things I want to get to this year. So like I said, I've got a lot of plans, and even what I talked about in the first group and this, the second group, I still have more plans than that. But I wanted to tell you some of the stuff that I really am looking forward to, some of the stuff that's really going to be exciting, some of the stuff that I hope you'll be interested in, and will want to, if you haven't already subscribed, that you'll want to subscribe, and if you haven't rung that bell and made it so that they send you a notification every time I come up with a new video, you'll want to do that too. And plus, I always enjoy your comments and I respond to my comments. But let me get started with the second group, and we'll talk about those. Now, the first of this group is that we're going to talk about milling and treating gold ore to extract the gold. And this is going to be mostly about extracting free gold ore where the ore occurs as individual little particles of metallic gold. I have like about 3/4 of a ton of gold ore that I've set aside and is ready to process, and I hope to get that done sometime this spring. I have a friend who's got a portable mill, and we're going to go out there and run that rock and take the gold out of it, and we're going to go all the way down to a button, a final product of gold. And with 3/4 of a ton, I'm looking at probably something close to a half an ounce of gold out of that, so that should be good. We're also going to take a tour of an old mill and see how it was done in the old days. I'm going to do a video on extracting gold from pyrite. Now, pyrite, that's fool's gold, right? But in gold deposits, a lot of times there'll be a little bit of gold with the pyrite. Sometimes there's significant gold with the pyrite. And I collected from various milling projects that I've done in the past about 1,000 grams of pyrite. And I've been treating it, and this is something that we're going to talk about. We're going to do bio-oxidation. There's videos of guys who have done, and you could do it this way certainly. You put the pyrite on a pan, you heat it up to a kind of a dull red heat and oxidize it that way, but it makes some pretty nasty gases. We're going to do it the natural way by letting the air and bacteria do it for us. But I'm going to show you how to extract the gold from the pyrite. I'm going to do a video on how to tell if you have gold. I get lots of questions from folks saying, hey, I have this stuff. Is this really gold? We're going to talk about the basics of and how to recognize gold, real gold. Now, you know, some of you guys might say, well, I know all about how to recognize real gold. And that's true if you have bigger pieces that you can see. But sometimes, you know, the gold is really, really, really small. And how do you tell, even with the magnification, if you really have gold? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about modern gold mining, about the cyanide and large-scale mining. I'm going to do a little bit of a talk about how gold is mined on a big scale, because most of the time I talk about how gold is mined on a really small scale. We're going to talk about gold detecting secrets. I did a series of videos a couple of years ago about secrets of how to find gold with your metal detector, and I'm going to kind of revive that and do a few more videos on how to special techniques that you can use for gold detecting. I'm going to talk about tellurides. Some of you guys may know about tellurides, probably a lot of you don't, but mostly gold is found in nature as free particles of metallic gold. But tellurium is kind of an unusual thing, and gold will actually form a compound combined with tellurium. And these minerals, they occur naturally. They're called tellurides. And, you know, tellurides look like sulfides, and sulfides are fairly low value usually. And if you take a telluride specimen and say, oh, that's just some sulfides, and you toss it out, you might have just tossed out a piece of rock with a couple ounces of gold in it. So we're going to talk about tellurides. We're going to talk about treating ore with thiosulfates. You know, I'm going to talk a little bit about cyanide, but cyanide, of course, is highly poisonous and dangerous, and so you got to be careful with doing stuff with cyanide. But thiosulfate is I mean, obviously, if you just you know, eat it all, it could kill you, but it's not nearly as toxic and dangerous. So we're going to talk about treating ore. This was something I was hoping to do last year and never got to. So I'm going to try again to do it this year. This is a small scale way that individual miners can treat ore that doesn't have coarse gold in it, that you can extract by more, you know, standard gravity type methods. We're going to try leaching the ore with thiosulfates. And I already have the ore. I have some good gold ore, gold silver ore, and some good silver with very little gold ore. And I want to do a couple of experiments treating that rock and trying to extract the values out of it. And then finally, like I say, I'm going to do more than just these, but one of the ones that I'm looking forward to doing is I'm going to call the meaning of life. Now, you guys may say, well, what does that have to do with gold? And I can promise you that the meaning of life is not how you should have more and more and more and more gold. And in fact, you know, in the ultimate end of life, there's a lot more to life than just money or gold or wealth or that sort of thing. And I'm not trying to change the nature of my channel. We're going to talk about prospecting, gold, gemstones, and related stuff 99% of the time. But I want to do a video about the real meaning of life and what's important in life. And, you know, you probably will find this video very, very, very different from what I normally do. But it's going to be a one-of-a-kind kind of thing. And I hope you'll enjoy it when I do get to that, probably sometime this spring. Anyway, I think that will give you a picture of some of the things that I'm looking forward to doing this year in 2022 with you guys. I am not giving up on doing videos. I'm going to have lots more videos coming out in 2022. So, you know, stay tuned, and I think you're going to enjoy what you see because I've got a lot to share with you. So thanks for coming along. And, one of the things I always talk about when I talk about prospecting and stuff is that if you want to increase your skills as a prospector, if you want to be a better prospector, I wrote a book about that. It's called Fistful of Gold because I want you to have fistful of gold. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my book right now, but I will see you soon. So let me tell you a little bit more about my book. It's called Fistful of Gold, and I wrote it because I want you to be able to go out and find for yourself fistful of gold. And you can see that it's an encyclopedia with all kinds of information, pictures, and that sort of thing. It's not in color, but color would have cost me a lot more to have printed, and so the book would have cost a lot more. It's for sale on Amazon, and you can pick it up. I'll put a link in the description below. I also serve as the editor for a prospecting magazine. It's ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal. And honestly, you should check that out. We got stories and information, legal stuff, everything you know to increase your skills as a prospector. I write articles in this every month, and a lot of other very experienced prospectors contribute to the magazine as well. So check the magazine out. Also, I have a website, and the website is at NevadaOutbackGems.com. I'll put a link for it in the description below, but there's gobs of information there that you will find useful in your prospecting efforts. Finally, I want to say that I really appreciate your comments and thoughts and even positive criticism. Don't come on there and just toss out insults because I'll just delete your comments. But if you've got helpful things to say and questions to ask, do write and put those in the comments because I answer my comments to people, and you'll hear from me in responding to you. So if you've enjoyed this video and you like what you see and you're interested in finding out more, well then sign up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so they'll let you know when I post new videos. And like it and share it if again you see stuff that you really are excited about. And I'll be coming out with lots more new videos, and so we'll see you again real soon.